Welcome back, y'all Royals. Wanted to bring this to your attention. This is a video speaking about Obama while he was in the president far seat, and also speaking about Trump coming into the seat as the president. So we must look at all aspects of our life today and line it up with the Bible. We do know that the presidents are kings according to the Bible. So we should definitely go deeper to see why was Obama, why the Most High selected him to be the president. He came at a time where a recession was already well on the way. It actually, the year before, which was January, when he was, as far as at the inauguration, well, in December of the month before, which was the year, of course, before, that's when it hit that the recession was about to, take off. So he came in with no part in having it to be. He came in with that on the table for him to face. So he had 8 years where there was like no boots on the ground, mean wars, and there were things that were being done, but not boots on the ground, any wars. And I know a lot of, so-called blacks and others may say he didn't do anything for us. He didn't do anything for us. But we need to really take a moment to understand why was he selected by the Most High. We can't take into account that because they was voting that selected him. I truly believe with all that is within me, Father is in complete control. He's the master chess player. So we need to chime in. We need to take in consideration, why was Obama selected? And then now, why is Trump selected? See, what I'm coming to understand is everything that is in the New Testament, we have been taught a certain way to look at the end time prophecies. And we must, of course, go deeper. So as this awakening is taking off even further, it's like going like wildfire, you would say. We must look at, why wasn't there a time that they spoke about Jacob's trouble? See, they had, a reason to say, well, we didn't because you all weren't the people, or you all still not the people. However, because we know Jacob's trouble tied into what they would call the tribulation. But they never mention it. They never talk about Jacob's trouble. Then we think about the second coming. Well, that ties into actually the second Exodus. But they had us to focus it on the second coming. So many parts of the end time prophecy, we would have to go back and look at it and not, and then see where we ever not included as us collectively, there's a problem. So I wrote out actually this, post when I did a video earlier this week about, how different things will happen. And then we so looking at it from one angle, but really we need to be lining up with the Bible according to us, not them. to us. Okay? So, I'm going to play a portion of this, and I want you to listen out for, and I'm probably going to end it at that and come back on, is that they said an old time, as far as coming from the Old Testament, it said Old Testament punishment. Old Testament punishment. And I'll come back on with that at the end of my remaining remarks.
From the west front of the Capitol all the way down to the monument. And I think it's about a mile. And all you could see were people. A sea of people. The fact that our country elected a black president is just, it was huge in significance. The thing I remember most about that day was an older white man turning to me and my daughter and him saying to her, "Young lady, you could be up there one day. You could be president of the United States." I will never, ever forget that moment.
Even Americans who had been skeptical of Barack Obama were giving him a look, listening to what he was saying. I think there was just an enormous amount of goodwill toward him and toward the possibility of what might be under this first African American president.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Obama led with that message of, we are now going to come together, we're going to unify this country. Even if you didn't back me, I'm now going to usher in this better part of your life.
Arrive at the neighborhood ball.
The first ever neighborhood ball open to the public.
She seemed like a kind of redemptive vision for American politics. People on the national stage saw Barack Obama as a kind of man apart from the pettiness, the various kinds of ways in which politics did not reflect the highest aspirations of the United States as a society. And he's black. In retrospect, it's easy to see how that was a doomed mission from the start. In fact, that very evening, across Washington, Republican leaders gathered.
A meeting, a dinner took place in the famous steakhouse in downtown Washington.
The room was filled. It was a who's who of ranking members who had at one point been committee chairmen or in the majority, who now wondered out loud whether they were in the permanent minority.
Many of them had attended Obama's inauguration. They had seen that breathtaking spectacle, and it felt like a wholesale repudiation of the Republican Party.
As the night wore on, they talked about a plan of attack.
The point I made was that we had to be prepared to run a full court press, and we had to see how Obama behaved and to offer an alternative to what he wanted to do.
They would try to block the president, fight his agenda, exploit the divide.
I thought he could be defeated partly by his own ideology and by his own behaviors.
All gowns are on their way to the cleaners. The party is over for both the new president and the nation.
He is facing many sobering challenges. Economy, it's a frustration with the economy.
Back to the economy, then obviously it's issue number one. It's on the front pages of every newspaper.
The economy that Barack Obama inherited, I think, is the defining event of this generation, even more so than 9/11, and it profoundly reshaped American politics.
Anger from the U.S. public toward bankers is high.
The economy was collapsing.
Growing backlash against Wall Street.
Trillions of dollars had been used to prop up Wall Street. Middle-class Americans were angry.
Took to the streets to express their anger. Frustration with financial bigwigs continues to grow.
the way it looked from ground level was that the big banks, the people who had created the financial crisis, were being bailed out when the little guy was being screwed. On the heels of growing public anger aimed at banks, which
Backlash against Wall Street.
Before he could deliver on his promise of unity, Obama had to confront the economic crisis.
The banks need to be held accountable.
We were told by our economic advisors that there was a 1 in 3 chance that the country would slip into a second Great Depression. We were on a ledge, and we could fall off that ledge.
His new Secretary of the Treasury was overwhelmed.
We'd already thrown trillions and trillions of dollars at the problem, and I think it was a very perilous moment, very existential moment at that point.
How do you respond to that? Not only how do you respond to it in terms of getting the economy moving again, but how do you respond to it in holding people accountable for what happened? And that was a definition moment.
Some of his political advisors argued for what they called Old Testament justice, punishing the banks.
David Axelrod, Obama's top political...
So that's what I wanted you all to hear. Old Testament punishment. What I got from that's speaking about judgment. See, these people are awaiting for the judgment to come. They know judgment is coming. When Obama was elected, a so-called black man, even though he was mixed, they were like, is this the old time judgment? Punishment has came. So stay tuned. I'm going to share some more clippings. And family, it's time for us to get down to the nitty-gritty. It's time for us to get pointed in the right direction. See, we so focus in on the prophecies that these same Bible scholars of these other nations and pastors that, a lot of us have been affiliated with over the years, they have told us the story. But have we taken the time to line up the Bible with what is happening right now, with us being at the forefront as the chosen people? I don't see many videos, even get into that mode. So, are either at the level where it needs, I would say, need to be. So when you really look at it, everybody waiting for Jesus Christ to come back. You change the color of the picture from white to black. You change the name from Jesus Christ to Yeshua. Yahushai. Okay? That's what we did. It's more deeper than this, family. Okay, family, welcome back to the second part of this. Okay, so now this is coming from a young lady who I came across her videos about 2 years ago. And she's one that has seeked the Most High and asking him who is the true biblical people, because she saw, couldn't seem to understand about Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. So she's a Caucasian lady, and she have nothing, to gain by lying or anything. She would lose more, and I will probably do another video at a later time to explain a little bit more about that, because she is someone that, she's so close to something until they actually have targeted her and have been following her, and just different things that she has to move from different places. But let me touch back on this, and then I'll do as the Most High leads me to do. So she was shown in a vision that night that when she seeked the Most High and it was shown to her in the Bible, which was in the it was Jeremiah 8:21, and it was letting her know from that scripture, Jeremiah 8:21, and it goes along the way. It says, "For the love, of my people, for the daughter that the love of my people, I'm black." And she said, soon she got there, and I'm paraphrasing, family, but the scripture. Soon she got there, a revelation just came to her. These are the people that came on the slave ships, are the true biblical people. And she started doing videos about it, including in her chart. So I know you see the 400 years here, and one say, well, 2019 would have been the year, and it didn't happen. And some people, they were like, oh yeah, 400 years didn't happen in Egypt, which I saw through, a video and understanding the timeline when they went into Egypt, how many people went, when they died, and you could calculate it and see it wasn't, complete 400 years. So, but she does have 2019, 2020. So the Most High, we have to believe and trust in Him that all things are in Him. But her whole method is lining things up biblically with the current day timing. Is she always on point? I can't say that she is, because some things, she will say, if it is, you understand? So, but I love her whole method of getting in and lining up what's today, happening today, line up with the Bible, which a lot of our people not doing. They're just not doing it, right? So let's just check it out, and then I'll stop and pause again and come back on the other side of that video and speak again.
Were physically in ancient Egypt for only 215 years. Their sojourning started with Abraham for a total of 430 years, but that was not the affliction of 400 years. There's so much debate over this because while the 430 years are clearly defined, the 400 years are elusive, and scholars have had to come up with silly theories like the affliction of 400 years started when Ishmael laughed at Jacob when they were children. And I don't blame them for trying to figure it out, but what makes better sense is that the affliction of 400 years is the curse described in Deuteronomy 28, when the Israelites are taken into slavery again by ships into an Egypt their fathers did not know in the latter days. According to the Gale Encyclopedia of U.S. Economic History, the first African slaves arrived on the North American continent in August of 1619. If that began the affliction, then 400 years later would end in 2019. Since the final time of trouble will be an affliction on everyone over the whole earth and will last 3.5 years, then for that 400-year affliction to end in 2019, the final time of trouble would have to start at least 3.5 years before the end of 2019. Because Deuteronomy 30 tells us only some of them will go to heaven during that time. Some of them go through that final 3.5 years of trouble on the earth. So that final 3.5 years of trouble has to be included into that 400-year period, because if it went beyond that, it wouldn't be 400 years, it would be longer. So if 2019 is the end of the affliction, then the final time of trouble should start 3.5 years before the end of 2019. In other words, 3.5 years before December 2019. And that lands sometime between now and the spring of 2016. And this lines up with everything else so perfectly. There's no way it's coincidence. Now it makes sense why the recent fulfillments of Daniel 9 point to Obama as the man called Messiah, because the end-time affliction of Abraham's descendants happened here in the United States. New York City is the headquarters of the beast, the United Nations, who have devoured the whole earth and destroyed by peace. And the recent fulfillments of Daniel 12 pointed to the One World Trade Center in New York as their sacred place where the idol of terror was set up, exactly 1,290 days after Obama took the oath, which is exactly what the original language says. This is among the many other reasons why December 11th starts possibly the biggest watch we've ever looked at. Today, December 11th, 2015, is the start of the 10th month on the Jewish calendar that is occurring in Obama's 7th year. The story of Esther and the Queen seems to be a parable representing the bride in Babylon the Great, and we're told the bride Esther was taken in the 10th month in the 7th year of the king. And remember, the king in the story represents God, because it says, and the king remembered Vashti and what she had done. That's a clear reference to God, remembering Babylon's iniquities. So the king Ahasuerus represents God in this story. Okay, but get this. Who is the Messiah? The Messiah represents God's son, right? Okay, now look at Daniel 9. It says, the son of Ahasuerus was ruling as king when Gabriel gave Daniel the prophecy about the Messiah. And remember, Daniel wrote this at the end of the 70 years of captivity in ancient Babylon. So let's just chart this. Jeremiah gives the prophecy of 70 years. 70 years later, Daniel is given the prophecy of 70 weeks, which has to do with someone called Messiah. Daniel wrote this chapter when the son of Ahasuerus was king. Jesus told us a parable of a king who made a feast, which is very similar to the king Ahasuerus in the book of Esther. It's basically the same principle. The queen is left and the bride is taken. So this is a parable. Ahasuerus represents God, and the son of Ahasuerus represents Messiah. So it's clear right here that Messiah will be the king ruling at the end of the 70 years. You see what I mean? The son of Ahasuerus was king at the end of the 70 years when Daniel wrote chapter 9. And now, while the fulfillment of Daniel 9 is happening, the 7th year of the man called Messiah is occurring in the 70th year that the nations around Judah have been serving Babylon. So again, the nations around Judah are part of true Israel. They're part of the earth, which is the true house of Israel. But the prophecy doesn't say Israel will serve Babylon. It says the nations around Judah will serve Babylon. But this is the kicker. We know the 70 years started in 1945 because Babylon sits on the beast. The beast is the 8th king, and the 8th king was created in 1945, the United Nations. Right now, we just entered the 10th month in the 7th year of the man called Messiah, which is also 3.5 years prior to 2019, the end of the affliction. It is also the end of the 1260 years since 755 and the end of exactly 70 years.
So as you see here, you see where it has 1260 years. Speaking of that, and it lines up with Obama, okay? So when Obama was either in the 7th grade or 7 years old, he wrote a book report saying how he wanted to change the world, all right? When he came into office, just before that, no one really knew him, right? He spoke at this Democratic Party, I want to say, it was 2015, I believe, when he spoke, or 2016. And when he spoke, not 2015, I'm talking about it's 2000 and he came in and said in 2008, 2009. So I believe it was like 2006 or 2007. So when he spoke, he just really did a whole lot for just a lot of people. Like, wow, a different whole is like a breath of fresh air, kind of sort of what one may say. So I see a lot on the web that a lot of people are dreaming that Obama will come back. Somehow he's going to get back to the White House, right? And that something's going to happen to Trump. And there's a lot of people dreaming this. A lot of people seeing that as if he's the Antichrist. And I explained in the video yesterday that, and I'm just saying, Antichrist, if they're, brought forth a deity and lined it up and hijacked it, our Messiah identity, but this other, deity is called Christ, you darn right he will be considered an Antichrist. anybody be Antichrist to that Christ. You understand? So so I'm just, putting this forth, family. I want to say with this young lady, she has taken a lot of her time to do it. She has dreams a lot too, and she, a lot of things that she comes and unveil and reveal what the Most High have shared with her. Remember, Father choose who He wants to choose and when He wants to choose them. Right? That's what He does. All right. So I just want to take your attention up where it says 400 years of affliction. So she have incorporated or it put us into her charts. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish, and then you'll see she'll break down some more understanding here. One moment.
Of the nations around Judah serving Babylon, sitting on the 8th king. It is the end of the exact length of one generation described in the book of Matthew from the budding of the fig tree Israel in 1948. Jesus tells us the fig tree does not produce fruit. So the fig tree Israel is not the bride Israel. It's not the true Israel. It's the fig tree no fruit Israel that Jesus says will be cut off. We also appear to have entered the 7th year of Daniel's final week and the Jubilee year, according to other sources. So it's still not too late to repent for worshiping the beast. Please, I'm begging you to verify for yourself that this is the truth in the Bible. For more information, you can watch the playlist Bible's Countdown to the Meteorite and Rescue for free.
Okay, so we're going to close out right there. So family, I'll come back with another video with her talking about Obama again, about 7 years, plenty, and 7 years as though when it was in Egypt. So I'll see you shortly.
In Daniel 9, the word translated as weeks means 3 things. 7, period of 7, or the Feast of Weeks, which is another word for the Feast of Shavuot. So Daniel 9 verse 25 can say, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, 7, and 62 Shavuots." In other words, 7, 7, and 62 Shavuots. The commandment went forth in 1947. The man called Messiah was born 7 after that in 1961. And 62 Shavuots after the commandment, the man called Messiah became president of the United States. The United States is the country that houses the beast. The beast is the 8th king, and the 8th king is the United Nations. The headquarters of the United Nations is in New York City, in the United States of America. Therefore, the seat of the beast is New York City. All the world worships the beast. The man who the world called Messiah was president of the country where the seat of the beast is. He confirmed the worldwide treaty established by the beast, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty created by the United Nations. The man called Messiah confirmed the worldwide covenant of the beast between October and December 2009. 4 months after 62 Shavuots from the commandment to restore Jerusalem. Daniel 9 verse 26 says, "And after 62 Shavuots shall Messiah cut a covenant." The commandment to restore was put forth by the 8th king, the United Nations, the beast. The confirming of the beast's covenant started a 7-year period from October through December 2009 to October through December 2016. Verse 27 says, "And he shall confirm the covenant for 1/7, and in the midst of the 7 he shall cause the thank offering and gift to cease." Notice the word translated as thank offering can also be translated as thanksgiving. So it says, "In the midst of the 7 he shall cause the thanksgiving and gift to cease." So the man who the world called Messiah showed up exactly 7, 7, and 62 Shavuots from the commandment that the beast put forth in 1947 to restore Jerusalem. The beast awarded the man called Messiah for confirming the beast's worldwide covenant. The seat of the beast is in New York City. In the midst of the 7 years, in August 2012, the man that the world called Messiah signed a steel beam that was set up in the One World Trade Center in New York City. That idol symbolized the war on terror. It was the idol of terror that Jesus said to watch for. It was set up exactly 1290 days after the man called Messiah took the oath, which is what Daniel 12 says. The idol was set up in the seat of the beast in the midst of the 7 years. A month later, on the 1335th day, Christians and Jews around the world reached their blessed day, the Feast of Trumpets. 1 month after that, the sign of Revelation 12 occurred, the sign that signals the flight of the multitude. The idol set up in the sacred place of the beast. The man called Messiah is Obama, who looks uncannily similar to the ancient pharaoh Akhenaten. Some scholars believe Akhenaten reigned in Egypt during the time of Joseph. Egypt is the spiritual name of the great city, which is end-time Babylon the Great, which will be destroyed by a stone from heaven. When Joseph was in Egypt, there were 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. In Daniel 9, 7 can refer to 7 years followed by 7 more years. In Daniel 9:26, it can say Messiah will be cut off, or Messiah will cut a covenant after the 62 Shavuots. In verse 27, the 1-7 starts either at the cutting of the covenant or the cutting off of the man called Messiah. That gives 2 possible 7-year periods. One starting when Messiah cut the covenant, and the other starting when Messiah is cut off. This also lines up with the 77. 77 from the commandment to restore Jerusalem ends in 2024. Babylon the Great is the great city, which is spiritually called Egypt. The 10 plagues of Egypt parallel the 7 plagues of end-time Babylon. The 10 plagues of Egypt are exactly what would happen after a stone from heaven hit the earth. First, the oxygen is sucked out of the atmosphere and water, turning the waters a red color. The burning away of the protective layer of the atmosphere scorches people with heat from the sun. They break out in boils on their skin, grievous sores in the kingdom of the beast. When the oxygen is burned out of the water, the frogs will leave the water and fill the land. The stone from heaven brings with it the sound of thunder, hail, and fire falling from heaven. When it hits the earth, it creates a huge burning pit. The smoke that comes out of the pit fills the atmosphere, darkening the sky. The third part of the earth affected by this will be in darkness for 3 days. Those 3 days represent years. In 3 years of darkness, all the plants will die. The dead plant matter will cause an increase in gnats, which eat dead plants. After the plants are dead, the cattle will die of starvation. That will cause an increase in the fly population, which eat dead flesh. This is when the king of the east will invade the kingdom of the beast. This is when the locusts come out of the smoke. For more information, please see the playlist Bible's Countdown to the Meteorite and Rescue, linked here and below this video.
So as you see, family, again, she's charting it, and she have charted, and it's quite interesting. So I'm not sure how much more time I got under this video, and I don't want to make it too long. We're going to try. So I'll be bringing another clipping up. But if it cut off, then I may have to go into a second part. But it looked like I may have a little bit more time here. So we will do just that. All right, family. So I came back. So I was reviewing some of the other clippings, and they're pretty long. So what I'm going to do is just share links and then share little tidbits, clippings here and there. So I'm going to close out this video, but I appreciate you all actually listening if you got this far. please keep in mind, let's continue to seek the Most High and line up the Bible with what's going on today. And those prophecy that was told about who we are not told who we are. We need to be considered in the midst of it because we are the chosen people. The prophecies circle around us. So anything that does not include us or spotlight is not on us, where we could see the spotlight coming from where that direction, you understand? A spotlight is on us, but they're not letting us see who they are putting a spotlight, where it's coming from. So, but when it goes where we can, they actually pointing and also saying, oh, y'all the people, and, you could see the prophecies surrounding us, then that's a different story. Until then, we still going to be living according to their prophecies and tie in. And it might not matter to anyone. I've heard someone said just last night that the kingdom, live within us, as far as the kingdom that, was said in Luke. And that's something that JC said, right? That we, as far as the kingdom, it's within us. So I haven't seen that anywhere else in the Bible, but the truth be told is that we're going to be redeemed, and Father's going to take us back to the land, whether the land mass is over the whole United States, and he makes that official, but he's saying he's coming to redeem us. It says there's too many times that he's coming to redeem us, deliver us, and take us back to our land. So at this point, we still looking for what they have painted the picture, JC to come back, and then this will happen because he's going to fight this war for us. He's going to battle for us, in which you see it in Joel 3 coming, where all the nation will come up to Jehoshaphat, the mountain or the hill of Jehoshaphat. So all of this is actually taken into play. But I just say again, family, we must go deeper. We must go deeper. And, continuously to seek the Most High, to get that key and to enter. And unfortunately, you might think, well, you get the key to the kingdom. That's all you're looking for. No, it's to different levels of understanding. It's more of getting, closer. And once we get through one area, this is the way how the Most High did it. And I understand our forefathers have done so wrongly and been so disobedient and stiff-necked. Why would he allow us to come back to him just like, oh, y'all Israelites now? No, we need to seek him. We need to seek him. We need to understand what it all means. We need to make sure that we're not serving any of their gods. Whatever their gods, we need to table it, chart it, and say, look, these are their gods, and we're not serving it. And then whatever gods you got in your life, you need to check yourself. You need to come to a place of understanding and not serve it. Okay? Not serve those gods. Whatever you have made, whatever you idolize, whether it's a football team, whether it's a sorority, a fraternity, anything, we need not to table it and have it as an idol. Then collectively, as a nation, we could see, as I could see, JC, money, and those at the top. So family, let's definitely take a look at this and get down to business and get to a place where let's seek the Most High, because I want to say that I know he's watching. I know he sees us, what we're doing, but what are we doing to cut this deity or these different gods off from us? You understand? He could have delivered us back in when which they would call slavery abolished. He didn't. He could have delivered us during the civil rights time also in 1964. He didn't. Here we are in 2020, and some people might say, well, it'll be when it is. Well, again, Father always have gave the timeline when he's going to deliver us. So the question mark is there a timeline that they know of, but he has just not given to us yet because we are not where we need to be in him? I don't know, family. I'd rather go, to whatever length, a mile, to get an understanding by seeking him. So I will continue, and I ask you to do the same. See you in the next video, family. Shalom. Shalom.